All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our first growers panel live stream here, if that's what we want to call it. The idea behind this was really to get together with other growers and industry experts in the Christmas tree industry and just share the knowledge. Because over the past year and a half or so, since we started this farm, and and started our YouTube channel, we've kind of become a big source for people seeking information about Christmas trees online. And I get questions almost every day, multiple questions a week from people about the business side of Christmas trees and growing Christmas trees and pest management and everything else, you name it. And I don't know the answers. I've only been doing this for a year and a half. So having a panel here and having people with a lot more experience and knowledge than I do, I think is one of the best ways that I can use the audience that I've started to grow and share it out there with the community. So I should do a quick kind of mic check and audio quality check. So if you guys are watching and can drop a comment in the live chat that you can hear us and see us and everything, that would be wonderful. Just gonna double check over here on the stream quality. It looks like everything's doing what it's supposed to do. There aren't any comments yet, but we're just going to roll with it and assume everything's fine unless everybody tells us it's not. So we'll kick it off with some introductions here. There are obviously five of us on the call here today. I'm Phil Woods. My wife Stacy Woods here. We run Woods Tree Farm in Amelia County in Central Virginia. We are just west of Richmond, Virginia. And as I mentioned, we've been doing this for a year and a half now, since November 2018. Tree farming is not our full-time job. We both also have day jobs, so a lot of what you see us do on our YouTube channel is all just done on the weekends. So that's a little bit about us and our farm. We've got 43 acres. We've got about 1,800 trees in the ground right now. We're going to plant some more in the fall and then more in the spring. And we'll talk more about planting in a little bit. So to continue the introduction, Scott, you want to go ahead?
My name is Scott Lund. I am the farm manager for a choose and cut Christmas tree farm called Santa's Woods, just north of Omaha, Nebraska. I have been doing this for about 33 years. I serve on our state association board. I'm a member of the National Christmas Tree Growers and represent Nebraska on that board. And then I'm also a trustee on the Christmas Spirit Foundation, which does the Trees for Troops program. Our farm, we do about 2,000 choose and cut trees a year. We've been planting now for about 3 years to start a wholesale side of our business. So right now we're sitting with about 40,000 trees in the ground.
How much acreage?
So, we have the 40,000 trees on 40 acres. The whole farm is about 130 acres. We got a little bit of row crops and hay ground and some of that too. I'm full-time Christmas tree farmer / farmer. If you had a livestock and do some row crops and hay crop and that kind of stuff too.
Nice. All right, Matthew, you want to go next?
Yeah, my name is Matt Quinn. I am one of the proprietors of Quinn's Tree Farm up here in Cornville, Maine, which is just north of Skowhegan, located in central Maine with my father. We run about 3 acres right now. I am like you. This is my second year of actually doing it. I kind of inherited the tree farm in the middle of growth. I have about 500 viable trees. I have another 500 coming, and then I have a long-term plan to get 3,000 in the ground over the next 5 or 10 years. I'm professional firefighter by day, and paramedic, and the tree farm is the way to get away and get out of. That's kind of in a nutshell.
Okay. Somebody commented we're getting some echo, and that might be from me because I've got speakers so Stacy can hear. We might have to do earbuds.
That's fine. Is this muted?
Yeah, we'll just I'm going to try to adjust the echo. Tony, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so my name is Tony Stefani. I own and operate Hillside Christmas Tree Farm with my father, Richard. It's located about half hour southwest of Ann Arbor, Michigan. It's strictly choose and cut. They purchased the property in '83, so I've been around the trees my whole life. We moved out to the farm when I was 10 years old. A lot of mistakes, a lot of lessons learned, ups and downs. I think at one time they planted all the land at once and were very busy in the 90s. Then they ran out of room to plant and trees. And then we were very hesitant to overplant again. So now we're kind of facing the opposite side where we don't have enough trees to sell. So our season is short. Altogether, we probably have about 50 acres plantable. And I kind of put together a plan over the next several years to make a whole rotation on that 50 acres. So I'm hoping to sell maybe 2,500 to 3,000 trees a year once we get rolling.
Okay, so
Unmuted.
and just so you guys,
Unmuted.
I'm muted for them. This is confusing because I have what's going to the stream and what's going to these guys on the call. But I tried to figure out the audio issue. I know what it was. My speakers were picking up the call. Or my microphone was picking up the call. So sorry, guys. When I'm not talking, I will mute myself, and that'll improve the stream quality. So great. Thanks for the introduction, guys. I was excited to see kind of the group that responded for this initial panel here, and the fact that we have such a mix of experiences, and we have folks from distinctly different regions of the country. So we're growing different trees and dealing with different climates and other localized issues. So there's a lot of different perspectives to share here on the call, and I think that's pretty cool. And I know that we have people watching from all over the country as well. So hopefully people find this format really interesting and valuable. So everybody that's watching, if you can just hit the thumbs up on this button, give it a like. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you interact with YouTube videos in that way and you like and you comment and all that, YouTube's much more likely to share this video and to recommend this video to other people out there. So you'll help us get more people in here and make this even more interactive if you can go ahead and do that. And if you are a member on a growers group Facebook page or something like that, or you have an email list that you can blast this out to or something, go ahead and share this out, and that would help out as well. So let's get in. We've got basically 4 or 5 questions here prepared for the panel here, and I'm just going to shoot the first question out there. I'll pick one of you to start it, and then others can chime in with their answers as they see fit. So the first one, and just kind of keeping it timely, I know we're all kind of interrupted to a certain degree with COVID-19 and dealing with whatever kind of localized lockdown or quarantine or whatever other orders we have. So the question for the group, and particularly you guys who have been open for business longer than I have, what do you foresee being kind of the impact on tree farms in the post-COVID-19 world? Just kind of leave that there for you guys open-ended. So Tony, you want to kick us off?
Well, it's gonna be different. I'm rattling around with this in my head too. My dad and I talked about it. Like on our farm, we do concessions and we kind of have a sing along. We do wagon rides and everything like that. And I guess to keep our customers safe, we're probably might not do concessions. The little sing along thing. I think we're going to try to minimize point of contacts. So something that's going to be touched by multiple people. We'll try to see how that goes. I think with the economy and the loss of jobs, people aren't going to maybe have that discretionary spending money that they've had in the past. So luckily for us, we don't have the trees to be a normal business. So I guess we're kind of lucky in the fact that it's not going to hurt my business too much. But I think there could be some down sales, and some of the guys that really can see some consistent numbers, they may not see those this year.
Yeah. Scott or Matt?
I don't know yet. That's probably the biggest part, is we just don't know where we're going to be at come the holiday season. We do kind of somewhat of an agritainment type situation on our farm. We've got kids zone areas, and we do s'more station and hay rack rides and all this kind of stuff. And you know, if we're still in a situation where we have to work with social distancing and things like that, you know, it's going to put a damper on our season in that regards. You know, we'll have to limit a lot of that kind of stuff. In the past with our farm, we have found that when the economy is not doing that well, our sales are better. And the only thing that I've ever attributed it to is people are much more willing to have their regular family Christmas things and pass on elaborate gifts or holiday trips or things like that. And it seems like we've always done really well, even in the downturn economy situations. So we'll have to see. I mean, it's just going to be one of those years. We're going to have to play it by ear and work that way.
Yeah. Interesting. Matt, you want to add on to that at all?
Well, I was going to say, I agree with Scott. We don't know where we're going to be in December. In my full-time job, we're getting memos every day, day in and day out, and things are changing. They always change, and we don't know what to expect. I think one of the biggest things that I'm concerned about or want to jump on is making sure that I have trees in the ground and making sure that I'm ready to overplant. If I could find a way to get 3,000 trees in the ground this year, then I would do that, because my projection is in 10 years, we're not going to have the trees available to get out like we are now or like we have been over the last couple of years because of the possible recession. I'm pretty basic. People come to my farm, they get a tree, they go home. It's not a big deal. I'd like to get into those other bigger things, but I'm not there yet. So hopefully, hope springs eternal. I think eventually we're going to get back to a much more normal way of life. I don't see the population being able to hold on to this level of social distancing forever. I know this weekend was the first real sunny weekend up here in Maine, and it's like miraculously everybody's like, yeah, okay, we're done with this quarantine stuff, and we'll convince ourselves why we have to go out,
Right.
you know, and we'll see. So
Yeah.
I'd like to. Can I add?
Yeah,
one
go
more
ahead.
thing, Bill? I guess too. We should watch. We should watch what the orchards and the corn mazes and things do, and watch kind of the extension services of all university who are going to be watching this and kind of advising on how to best move forward with this as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was just going to say, for the people who are watching, if you have anything to add to the topics that we're discussing, I'm watching the live chat over here on another screen, and you know I can bring your points into the conversation as well. My thoughts kind of mirror some of what you guys were saying, as far as I'm kind of assuming that we're going to have to continue doing some of the practices that we're doing right now, as far as distancing families from each other. So as far as our property goes, we've got about 1,000 feet from parking area to where the trees are. Now we're not cutting trees yet because we're only 2 years old, so we're just going to have a tree lot. So the thought though was, when it comes to hay rides and transporting customers around our property, the wagon's 16 feet long. Well, I guess we could fit like 2 families on there on each end, maybe, right? And you talked about, Scott, you talked about doing a s'more station, and we have s'mores have always been a big hit on our property as well, and we have this massive fire pit. It's like 7 foot by 7 foot. I'm like, well, that's actually kind of perfect. People can, be on each side of it. But when it comes to like sharing sticks and stuff, like we probably don't want to do that. We probably want to have disposable sticks, and just thinking about all the possible touch points for, transmitting disease. I think we're going to have to think through all of those unique touch points for each of our properties. And Tony, to your point, listening to the guidance from public health folks and the extension office and agricultural board and whoever else kind of is going to provide insight for this kind of stuff. I think we're all going to be paying attention to that.
Well, the Fall Fest will be done. We can learn from them.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about planting because it's springtime, and I think all of us at this point have, based on what I've seen, seen online from you guys, I think all of us have planted some trees already this spring. Is that right?
Still working on
Well,
it.
yeah, it's the numbers that
Still
you're
working
doing,
on
I'm
it.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it was easy.
let's just kind of
We only did like 700.
wow. Let's just go around the room and do kind of a round robin of our style and our volume and how we plant and what your process is for managing planting season. So Matt, I'll let you kick it off.
So I haven't gotten my shipment from Canada yet. I got 500 trees coming from Sherbrooke, Quebec. What we do in Maine, I'm a member of the Maine Christmas Tree Association, and we have a seed orchard state where they have taken scions of premium balsam firs and grafted those onto rootstock. And the seeds, we pick the seeds every couple of years. They sit in the refrigerator, then they go up to a tree farm in Quebec, and then they come back across the border. So those should be here in the next couple of weeks, barring anything like that. They just bring them down to a couple miles away from me, actually. But until then, I've been doing the wildling thing, where I've gone into the woods and I'm trying to go old school a little bit. We had it's kind of more of an experiment on my side of it to try. I've got some time to kill. My parents own 20 acres, and except for the 3 that are fields, they're all woods, and they were cut over a couple of years ago, and now I have a lot of fir seedlings coming up. That really, if they were in transplant bed, they'd probably be like 3.2s or something like that. So I'm trying to propagate those. I just to see what we got. What do I have to lose? If they don't work, then I'll cull them out and start over. And then when my 500 come, I have a half acre lot that I'm going to put those into. I'm running about a 7x5 grid is my plan. That way my tractor with the bush hog can get through when they're fully grown. I have a 1025 John Deere that's about 4 feet wide, and it's perfect, at least in my mind, for doing those things. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I just can't wait to get those trees down here and get them in the ground.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to be planting them. They're all going to be by hand. There'll be 2 or 3 of us, and we'll bang them out in a day.
There you go. How about you, Scott?
We plant. Well, we are currently planting more trees than ever. We do have a mechanical tree planter that we do when we do either clear cut sections of trees or when we're starting new sections of trees. Due to a very poor planting here a couple of years ago, we are currently here, I think we're hand planting almost 4,000 trees, which is not my favorite thing to do.
How many people help you?
3.
Just
3 of them.
3 of you.
Yeah, we do somewhere between 500 and 1,000 trees a day. The 3 of us.
Yeah, that's what we did on Big Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's not bad. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot better to put them in with a planter and all that kind of stuff. Other than that, I mean, we're just planting and planting. We plant on a 5x5 on our flat ground. On our a little bit hillier ground, we plant on a 5x6. We do the 5x5 mostly because we are the largest choose and cut largest tree farm in the state of Nebraska, and I generally can't get a tree to 8 foot tall. They're sold before they get there. So I need to maximize my acres and plant as many as I can, and they rotate pretty fast.
Wow. Tony?
We haven't completed yet. I think we'll be done on Monday. In the past, we've done all hand planting, and we've kind of only planted maybe 1,000 trees a year. We're up in that. We're doubling it to 2,000, and we bought a planter, and I cannot believe the efficiency increase. It's crazy. Like we planted I think 800 trees in about 2 hours, and there's a whole lot more prep work to kind of get the rows how you want them. But when you're going, you're going. It's really quite different. We're planting 400 spruce, kind of 200 Colorados and 200 Black Hills. And then we have a core rotation of fir that we like to keep as a Canaan, balsam, and concolor. So about 500 each of those. And I think it's just me and my dad for now. We used to hire the help when we would get hunters that would hunt the land, and they would come in the spring and help us plant. But now we have a planter. It's just my dad and I, so it goes pretty quick, a lot quicker.
Yeah, I bet. That's our rule. You hunt, you help. On the farm, I stated that very quickly. But we also just reached out to a local high school FFA program, and part of their mission is service. And so we had some kids lined up, and then COVID happened. So we didn't get them to help out. We had a couple people come, but wasn't from that group. So we're hoping to get them in the fall. We plant 6 by 8 this field.
Our first year we did 7 by 8 spacing and felt like we could bring it in a little bit. Yeah. So what we planted in the spring, we did a 6 by 8. But I like having the wider rows. I kind of envision once we're able to again doing more activities at the farm, spring event, fall event, maybe summer event around sunflowers, educational stuff, youth group, child groups, and just having more space in the rows for groups to gather and do things, I think is what's on the radar for me. And photographers too. There's a big demand in our area for photographers to come out, and we've got trees planted right next to a pond. It's perfect picture setup as soon as the trees are big enough. So I want those groups to have space to set up and do what they want to do as well, so that we can monetize the property in that way.
That would be a good another live session as a photographer policy. There's a lot of farms that have a lot of questions about photographers.
Yeah,
it could be a topic of its own.
I actually put a policy together, and already have it ready to go. Yep.
Yeah,
it's funny that you mentioned that, because I had a girl on Facebook. She asked if she could come, and it caught me completely off guard. And I said yes, and then we got 3 inches of rain on the weekend that she was going to come.
That happens. I was thinking about future sessions with a panel like this and different topics and formats that we could do. And one of the topics that was on my brainstorm was around monetizing not just the property, but just other revenue streams besides selling trees. And I think we could dedicate a whole episode just to that, because everyone's got crafts that they make. You've got stuff that you buy and resell. You've got add-on experiences on the farm. There's just like loads of things that you could talk about. Yeah. And I'm a marketing guy and a kind of business guy, and so that kind of stuff gets me really excited. So I think that could be a whole other episode. But to that point, if you guys who are watching have ideas for future panels, I'd like to keep the topics relatively concise. So this one was just timeliness, right? It's springtime, planting, COVID, and we got a couple other topics here prepared. But future ones could be about anything. I had one guy reach out to me who is he's like a financial tax guy who works or has worked with a lot of Christmas tree farms, so he knows some of the specifics for our business and the tax implications. And I know that's something that a lot of people have questions about. I think we could dedicate a whole episode just on like finances and taxing. So to that point, if you guys have more ideas, not just you guys panelists, but you guys who are watching, if you want to drop it in the chat, I'll see your comments there, and we'll definitely put that on the schedule. The plan is to have one of these every month. So the next one would be on the last Saturday of May, which is May 30th. And I believe it is. If it's not, last Saturday in May. And if it works out well, and in the future, if we want to do these on a more frequent basis, then we can do that. But for now, I'm just thinking once a month is a good level of commitment for me and for everybody else, hopefully. So let's jump into the next question. This is actually something in the Facebook groups I've seen come up a few times, and I've gotten approached either in my YouTube comments or people have contacted me directly about fertilization. And I'm curious how you guys have managed this historically on your own farms. And the big question that I see, obviously, you need a soil test, and I think all of us could probably say that you need to know what your soil demands and your tree demands are before you go putting fertilizer down. But beyond that, give me an idea of how you guys manage fertilization, how you buy it, how you apply it, and when you put it down. And let's see, start us off. I'll throw a dart and Scott here. You go first.
Well, so for fertilization, generally, because I live in Nebraska and we have the wonderful fertile prairie soils, I don't have to do much fertilization. Oh, nice. In fact, generally, I don't do any. I have some areas of my farm that I do need to do some fertilization on. My problem is I live in a state that pretty much anybody that has to do with any kind of crop only knows soybeans and corn. And so as I have done soil tests and gotten recommendations, most of the time I know enough to know that the recommendations they're giving me are wrong. I actually sent my soil tests before to Jill O'Donnell at Michigan State, and she gave me a whole bunch of different recommendations and told me that, yeah, they were wrong. And I said, well, I knew that. But the problem is that I don't have very good resources in our state to get me good recommendations for the Christmas tree industry. And so I'm struggling with that. And it's something that as I go to meetings on other states and other places, if there's anything about fertilization or that, I try to go to those seminars. For some reason, it becomes very difficult for me to grasp all of it. And so it's something that I keep trying to work on to try to fix problem areas that we do have.
Yeah. Okay. Matt, you go ahead.
So this is the first year that I did any fertilization, and basically I, like Scott, balsam firs have grown in the fields that I'm tending for the past 50 years from other tree farmers before me, and we have over 100 acres that have actually much of it's grown up just due to people getting out of it. This year with the wildlings that I'm putting in the ground, I just took some 10-10-10 and tossed it in there to see what would happen. Other than that, I haven't done much in the way of fertilization. It's on my list of things to look into, and I've been very lucky. I've had really good active growth during this summer season. So,
Tony?
This is something that I've read a lot about and I've started implementing several years ago. My pH is high, so I use granular sulfur and I use a broadcast spreader on the tractor to just treat the whole field that way to bring it down. Year after that, we base it on their trees' individual needs and we do it individually. So I take a tractor and my kids are old enough that they can take a little measuring cup and they just kind of have the trailer behind them and they just kind of scoop and do the trees as we're driving by, and we just knock them out. It works out pretty well.
Thank you for that tip.
Otherwise it's me walking with the bucket.
Yeah.
And I'm feeding the trees.
We're totally doing that.
It works.
Yeah, we
I
think it's not having any kind of ag experience when we got the property before the first trees went in the ground. We had an extension agent come, did the soil test for us, which was actually great because I would have completely screwed that part up and collected the soil sample improperly. So they did the soil sampling and talked to us about how to collect a proper sample and all that, and that was a great
video.
That was a great learning experience. I was going to say there's a video on the channel about that. But the results were really telling for us, and we found out that our soils were very deficient in both potassium and potash. And so what we tried to do at the recommendation of the extension office was broadcast the entire field to try to bring it up to where it was supposed to be. for that first planting. I don't know for sure how effective that was. I haven't done a follow-up sampling, but I do know last year our grass grew ridiculously, and I mean
We won't be doing that again.
we lost a lot of trees just because we
Choked them all
yeah,
out.
well, we couldn't keep up with it, and between the weed whacker and the mower and getting choked out, there were definitely trees that were lost, and then we had late season drought that killed all the rest of them.
Yeah.
So well, not all the rest, but we had some big losses. So point being, what we're doing going forward, we're not broadcasting the whole field. We got some feedback from another grower to use the fertilizer tablet, so we put one of those in each hole with the tree. They're like a 2-year slow dissolve tablet, and they're pretty cheap. So it works out to be like 8 cents a tree or something. So I figured, that's kind of cheap enough insurance, and it's not just fertilizing the grass, and we'll see how that does. But then I am planning on following up and doing the fertilizer banding, like you described, Tony, and and taking periodic samples. So I'm going to do another sampling for next season's planting. That'll be some new area, and then when I send that in, I'm also going to resample the areas that we fertilized in the past and kind of see where they're at, and maybe try to determine how much more that they need.
Yeah, our land was a cattle farm or just land.
It was a farrow.
Yeah, and they didn't do anything with it. So.
Yeah. But in terms of timing, do you guys have any feedback, or do you have a preference as far as when to fertilize?
Well, we do it before they start growing, so I did it maybe 2 weeks ago. We had a big cold spell up here, but normally the trees would start growing now. Rule of thumb was 2 weeks before bud break.
That would have been like when we for us this year.
Well,
springtime is busy.
They went quick.
The trees last year that didn't get a fertilizer tablet, I did. Actually, at the recommendation, I see David Danikin's commenting in the live stream. He's commented on my channel in the past too. At his recommendation, I went ahead and fertilized. I think it was in February for us. And February is like in the 60s here. So, yeah.
Cold.
Please stop talking, because we're supposed to get.
It was in the.
We're getting 3 inches of.
50s.
We're getting 3 inches of snow tomorrow night, and that's just a bunch of crap. And don't even get me started on that. So, we don't even get buds. Like Memorial Day is when we'll have bud break, and we look at late breaking. Like, one of the biggest things about our seeds is the late breaking balsam, because we don't want them to.
We're beyond broken at this point. Everything's wide open.
Yeah.
Wow. So I guess you have some time after you plant or before you plant to fertilize then, Matt?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, we're lucky. We didn't get, apparently we're getting all that snow in April, because we didn't get much snow over the winter. And so we're lucky because I've had snow melt. So the ground's been thawed out for a couple of weeks now. So I could plant, as soon as those trees get in, I can plant them. And then, like Tony said, the first 2 weeks in May are just, here they're slamming, and then you'll get bud break, and then a couple weeks off, and then shearing time. So.
All right, yeah, Scott's back. Gotcha. Yeah, you were frozen briefly, Scott, and you had like a nice smile on your face when you were frozen, so it's good.
At least it was a smile, right?
Great.
All right, so we're at 9:35. I was planning on going 45 minutes. We got about 10, so we'll move on to the next question, and I'll throw it out there to the people who are watching in the live chat. If you have questions for the panelists, I think we will have a few extra minutes.
There's one.
Okay. I'll check that one and then let you guys know what it is. But the next question that we had on our list that we talked about before the call started was around weed control and how you manage, because that'll be the next thing that I know we're all dealing with. I'm already dealing with. I've done 3 cuts, 3 mows on my farm already. So today I cut in the rain. So talk about how you guys manage. And I know some folks out there do pre-emergent. Some people just do post-emergent sprays. Some people don't do any of that. So just kind of curious. I know this is more of a personal preference kind of thing. There's no right or wrong based on what I know. But I'm curious to hear what you guys do. So Tony, you want to start this one?
Yeah, so our weed control stuff starts the year before we plant, where we actually kill everything in the band that we're going to plant. So we start with a bare dirt with grass in the middle of the rows, and then beyond that, we'll put a pre-emergent down before we plant, which kind of lays the blanket down. We break it with the planter, but that's about all we'll do. Then the following year, we'll start our kind of regimen of pre-emergence. We did that maybe about a week ago, let's say, here. So we're still before a bud break. And then maybe in, I would say, another month and a half, we might do some post-emergent touch-up, kind of spot spraying with a band sprayer and use the wand or directed spray at the bottom. And we have a pull-behind tank on the tractor that's narrow, but narrow enough to go between the rows.
Nice. Yeah. Matt?
So I think I applied too much last year, and I had trouble with frost. One of the things, the trees that were already grown, they were planted in 2011, and the gentleman before me he liked to aerial. He'd do aerial pest control and herbicides, and the problem that I've encountered is it's pushed. The frost has pushed my rootstock up, right? So my roots aren't too deep in the ground, and then I've got trees that are in trouble. So last year
He froze.
did band spraying. I had my little solo backpack, threw that on and got really big biceps pumping on that thing. But I feel like I did it. I feel like I did it too much. So what I do is I band spray a 2 foot swath between the trees under the trees, and then I'd mow each section. And that was with just Roundup. I'd like to get into the pre-emergence. Tony, I'm assuming it's like Princip or something like that is what you're using.
Simazine.
Yeah. So, I've heard a lot of good things about that, and I just didn't get into it this year. I wish
Sounds
I
like you
didn't
still
have,
got time.
Yeah, I know, right? I wish I did. I wish I didn't have to use them. I mean, I think it's the big, it's the open secret. I think most people know that we use them, but the big nasty words that they don't want to hear. But I can't afford in any way, shape, or form. No one's going to pay $100 for a Christmas tree, and I'm not going to wait for 12 years to do an organic Christmas tree. I wouldn't make any money, unfortunately. So that's kind of where I'm at. I got to give you a shout out though, Phil. I watched your video on your spray technique, and I think your funnel is a great idea. And I actually am going to incorporate that in my spraying. And instead of band spraying, I might actually really refine it into a much tighter band with the funnel. So that was kind of neat. So there you go.
Yeah, well, you can buy the drip shields for those sprayers, and they're like $30, $40, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yankee ingenuity,
$4
man.
funnel,
I thought
man.
that was great. So
yeah,
Thinking creative.
yeah.
Welcome to my life.
yeah, $30,000 tractor, $4 funnel. Yeah, yeah. Scott.
We do band spraying. We do pre-emergent. I use Pendulum, which is pendimethalin. It works really well for us in the early. We have horrible problems with a bunch of Roundup resistant weeds with mare's tail and water hemp. And in those cases, I've now had to start spraying Goal. We usually have to end up spraying that about the last week or so of June. A lot of our new plantings now, we are planting white clover cover crop, but banding the row so that we don't have to do as much mowing. Because when you start getting a lot of trees, you find yourself out there mowing a whole lot. And most of the reason we do all the banding is just we have to. I can't pay that much labor to go out there and do backpack spraying stuff. It's all done off our Kubota. And then we'll do a band spraying of Roundup in the fall, which usually helps us quite a bit come springtime. Just kind of keeps those rows clean longer in the spring.
Interesting. Well, yeah, all I've done so far is just round up with a backpack sprayer, and that was in my last video. I did that once last fall, and just this time, that's all I've done. But I think I am going to go the route that you mentioned, Tony, which is killing off the row for next season's planting in the fall. I haven't explored any pre-emergence yet, but I'm definitely interested in exploring that too, because the amount of work and labor that's involved in just trying to keep competition off the trees is tremendous, as you guys know. And
Right. It's being a proactive or reactive.
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Well, there was a good question came up around irrigation. This is a topic when we were researching the Christmas tree business and we talked to other growers. Everyone said, "You don't need to irrigate. You don't need to irrigate. You don't need to irrigate." And then we hit like the worst drought that Virginia has seen in a short period of time last year. And we found out quickly that at times you certainly do need to irrigate. So, what's your take on irrigation? And if you irrigate, what's your style?
Well, we don't irrigate. I guess we use the same tank or sprayer that we use for spraying our herbicides and pesticides. If we notice that we are in a drought, we will go with that sprayer and kind of just individually give them some water. But Fraser, for example, their native range gets twice the amount of water that Michigan does. So we don't plant them. And we've lost some to drought, but we've been pretty lucky. It's not been substantial that we haven't been able to recover from. So
Yeah.
I got water coming out of the sky left and right. So I actually would go to the opposite. Some of those trees I talked about that popped up, I had root rot, and you go in and strip the root, and they're just black. So I don't have any problems with water at all. If I do, of course, you can't predict the future these days with the weather because it's going to snow tomorrow in the third week in April. But you can tell I'm a little upset about that. But yeah, I don't have any plans to irrigate. If I did, I'd probably go along Tony's lines and have to do it by hand. So.
Yeah. How about you, Scott?
No, we for the most part, I don't do any irrigation. We've tried a few times with certain things, and it just ended up with more problems actually than we're able to deal with. With root rots and things like that. So we found that it's better to not. We had a horrible drought in 2012 and 2013. 2013, I lost almost every single tree we planted.
Wow.
And it was just that bad. There's nothing you could do about it.
That was we lost almost half of what we planted last spring.
Yeah, the spruces held on fine.
Horrible.
Once we realized we were losing trees, we watered the spruces like crazy.
They were the more expensive.
Yeah. The pines didn't get as much attention, and we had about 50% survival on them. But I had, out of 600 firs that we planted last year, I probably had a dozen survive the drought last year. And they're not native to our area either. So,
when you talk about, poor planting years, for some reason, in 2018, planted 1,600 Fraser firs, lost every single one of them. Last year, I replanted that section, planted 1,600 Fraser firs, lost 35 trees.
Wow.
It's just,
nice.
that's, what do you do? Sometimes you just don't win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I had some people recommend on the YouTube channel that I should look into drip irrigation. And I was just about to say that, and David Danikin just put in the live chat that he used to do drip, and it was more trouble than it was worth. I went and researched drip, and that was before this spring's planting. And just for the 1,300 trees that we had on the ground, at the spacing that we had it's like 1.25 miles of rows.
Yeah.
So I'd need that much drip tape, and you go
No,
and
thanks.
yeah, I would need just hundreds and hundreds of dollars of just drip line, of just drip tape, and then you need all the fasteners and all the connections and everything else. Like, there's no way I would do that. So I do irrigate
And you're mowing.
Yeah,
Right.
and the mowing.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
I do irrigate though. It gets hot here in Central Virginia, and it stays hot for a long time. So if we don't get consistent rain, which it should be expected that we won't always get consistent rain, I'm planning on continuing to irrigate at times. And I just right now I'm just using a cheapo trash pump and pumping from my pond. And I fabricated some sprinklers that feed off of that trash pump. But I am going to do a video. I actually have on order right now a couple different like commercial size sprinkler heads, and the test is going to be how big of a sprinkler head can I power off of a $250 trash pump, because the little residential sprinklers will only do like 3 to 5 gallons a minute, and those commercial ones can do up to like 70 gallons a minute. And the pump's capable of doing 150 gallons a minute. I just don't know if it has enough pressure. So
It's uphill.
so that's going to be the test, and that'll be, in a future video whenever I need to irrigate.
You need to,
Well, I
to
guess-
get yourself a Mark III.
I don't know what that is.
Serious as a heart attack. Look up Mark III forestry firefighting
yeah.
pump. They push water. They can push water thousands upon thousands of feet, and you can get pressure out of them. And they're wicked easy to set up. I don't know if it's something that would actually work on a tree field, but you can push water
Yeah.
a mile.
Well, I have looked into better quality and higher pressure pumps, and they're not terribly expensive. For around $1,000, you can get what seems to be a pretty good one for the scale that we need. Like if we had Scott scale, it would never work. But for the scale that we have, where we just need to irrigate a couple acres, there are pumps out there I think that are pretty affordable. But before I invest in that, I'm going to try and see what I can get out of my little trash pump and just keep at it that way. Well, this was fun. We're kind of out of time. Was there another question we want to have? Oh, what about deer? For me, yeah. Managing deer, do you guys do anything special, or you just think it's a numbers game?
We're still trying to best figure out how to deal with the deer.
No,
Ongoing.
I have absolutely no problems with deer right now. Deer don't really love balsam. They'll eat it if they have to. They like cedar better, and there's plenty of that in the woods. So unless it's a really bad winter, we don't have that many problems up here.
Gotcha.
Scott, do you?
I have enough cornfields around
Yeah.
that they don't bother Christmas trees.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, David Danikin says he has 45,000 trees in the ground and heavy deer population, but they destroy maybe 8 to 10 trees. So that's kind of been my take. Is it's just a numbers game. So plan on expecting a small percentage to be lost to deer or damaged, and you can let a damaged tree grow and turn it into wreaths and make more money than you do selling it as a tree. So just the fact that it gets browsed on a little bit by deer doesn't mean that it's a total loss.
Well, one of the farmers that we had talked to, he basically, if the deer are coming up and rubbing on the tree, he leaves it, and then they just continue to do harm to that tree and not all the other trees. And I was like, aha, that's really good to know.
Yeah, the same guy actually mentioned.
There's a scent gland that
Right,
they're-
yeah.
Yeah.
the
The
scent-
same guy mentioned
they'll
he
come
had
back
a
to the same
bear.
one.
He had a bear that came and liked to lean and scratch on one of his trees, and he just let it grow. It was a 12, 13, 14-foot tree over time, and the bear came year after year and just rubbed on that one tree.
We could have that problem.
We could.
We have bear on our property.
Here's our. I took a plaster mold of the bear print that we got.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, super
so-
fun talking to the kids about that.
Yeah. Compared to my hand, pretty big.
Oh, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't like
Yeah.
people. They don't
Yeah.
eat people. They just eat
Yeah.
trash.
Well, thanks, guys. This was a lot of fun. I hope the people watching found it valuable. And I didn't see all the comments, but if there's any feedback in there for future sessions or anything, we'll definitely take that. Tony, go ahead.
I got one. What Shane Morse said about me planting Fraser, Michigan. It's just a personal choice. I think my customer base can't tell the difference between a Fraser and a balsam, so I find that a balsam is much easier to plant. So I just kind of choose not to plant Frasers, but there are lots of farms in Michigan that do successfully. But
Yeah, I
that's
think
all.
people just know to ask for a Fraser fir. Last year we had we
Yeah,
only
right,
had a tree lot open, and we could only get Korean firs. and people would call and say, "Do you have Fraser firs?" And I just said, "Yeah, I have firs." And
Yeah. What I'm kind of seeing though is the one that they're starting to name is the con color, right? Give me the one that smells like oranges. I don't know if you've heard that one yet, but that's the one that I'm kind of noticing a lot more people are wandering
we're
towards.
trying that one on our place, and we like the way that they look. I just don't know.
They smell amazing.
I don't know if they're going to end up. I don't know if they're going to end up growing where
They don't smell like Christmas. The only thing that smells like Christmas is a balsam fir.
Oh, Maynard would say that.
Yeah, we can't
I'm
get
sorry,
that
but
in
it's the
here.
truth.
Somebody said Eric Nelson. He said he's overseeding girls.
Oh yeah.
White clover.
Cool. Well, thanks again, guys. This was fun. The recording of this will live on my YouTube channel. So if there's if anybody wants to revisit any of the content that was discussed on here, you can certainly do that. The next one will be May 30th. Thank you. You confirmed that. Mm-hmm. And if anyone who's watching is interested in being a panelist, you can reach out to me directly at woodstreetfarmva@gmail.com or Facebook, YouTube, whatever. I'm pretty accessible. Yeah, just reach out. I'll get you on the list. I basically have an email list set up for everyone who wants to be a panelist. The week leading up to the broadcast, I'll blast it out and say who wants to be on there this week. And the first 3 people I get back will be the people on it. I'll give preference to folks who haven't done it before, or at least didn't do the last one, and we'll take it that way. So thanks again, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I hope this season's good for you, and keep in touch.
Thank you, bro.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, see you guys.